And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Kim Davis, and if you are with me now, I am so glad you hung in there. I'm moving the show to my Kim Y. Davis page because as I'm growing and building this brand, I've got to do it from my business page and not my personal page. So while I will share this broadcast to my personal page, I hope that you'll join me from the Kim Y. Davis page. It will allow me to do some other things. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday. And today I'm going to do, after this show ends, I'm going to post an interview that I did earlier today with Terry Washington, a former NBA executive I had a chance to meet and work with. Hey, good morning, Heaven's Angel. I am glad you hung in there, Ladybug. I appreciate you. So the show will be broadcast every week now from my Kim Y. Davis page. It is the place that allows me to do some other things beyond just when it's live. So I am starting some podcasts, and the format moving forward, we'll do the live portion on Facebook, and then there'll be a longer interview that you guys can download as well for free, of course. So welcome, happy Thursday, and there has just been so much going on. Angel is a part of today's show. She did not go to daycare. I had a board meeting this morning at 8:30, and we just could not work it out. I appreciate you, ma'am, my friend, my sister. We just could not quite work it out for her to get there. Calvin Watkins is going to join us also, and as you all know, in terms of what there is to talk about in the world of sports and just in the world of the world, it has been a busy time since we visited last week. And we're going to start visiting shorter shows, but I'm going to do them more often, at least 3 live shows throughout the week. That's my new commitment. And occasionally I'll do an evening show. So I'm working all of that out, but I will still be here live, excuse me, on Thursday morning. So as always, special thanks to people who help us get this show going and help us do what we do here at KD Company. Our good friends over at Sunshine's Vegan Deli at 3102 Old Spanish Trail. For those of you who are in Houston, go by, check them out. Kimmy treats can be found there, the Kimmy corn, the cookies, the Kimmy bars. I will also be taking some more treats by tomorrow morning. We're making new treats today. So, make sure you get by today, tomorrow, this weekend. There will be plenty of treats for you to choose from. And oh yeah, they have real food too. So you don't have to just get Kimmy treats. But if you're looking for a place to get Kimmy treats live, that is where you can go. So the Houston Rockets are, okay, that's right. The Houston Rockets are on the market. And let's take that out. The Houston Rockets are on the market. They are for sale. And, Les Alexander, the owner of the Rockets, bought this team, 24 years ago? He bought it back in 1993 from then owner Charlie and Kitsy Thomas. Lovely people. I really like Charlie and Kitsy. Got a chance to know them covering the team and just really liked them a lot, and got to know Kitsy, the wife, a little more than Charlie, but just really cool people. Mr. Alexander bought the team in 1993. The Rockets won championships in 94 and 95. Fast forward to 2017, and he has decided, I'm good. And I've had people say, well, why would he sell the team? I say, why not? So he bought the team for $86 million back in 1993, right? Well, now the team is worth what? Are they saying $2 billion? On the low end, it was like if it only sells for 1 point, I believe it'll sell for more than that. And let me try to send you, really? Okay. But Calvin Watkins is trying to join us. Let me redo it. And I am going to try and send him a link again. Let's see. See if this works. So I'm talking to Calvin Watkins, who is going to join us live in just a few moments. Like I said, I'm trying some different things with technology because technology is all around us and I need to be using more of it. right? So let's see here. Let's change that. There we go. Okay, I'm back. I was trying to see if that would help with me getting Calvin Watkins on. Bring in a guest from the clipboard. Let's see. Can we do that? Nope, nope, nope. I don't want to do that. We jump out of there. Okay, so hopefully that link that I just sent to you works. Calvin Watkins, and so he will join us shortly. We're going to talk about the NBA, and we're going to talk about the fact that the Houston Rockets are on the market, and how much this team is worth. I mean, how much money it really will take to buy a team now, right? And who are the real contenders in terms of this purchase? I don't anticipate the Houston Rockets organization being on the market for very long. And so I think, I'm writing this. As you guys always know, I'm managing about 2 or 3 different screens, but I tend to think that, I mean, there are people who were interested in buying Rockets when they were on the market back in '93. One of those people, one of the organizations or individuals is Tillman Fertitta. He was very interested in the team when Les Alexander bought it. And of course, Mattress Mac, another local businessman, has talked about putting together a team. And I'm sure there are others that we don't know yet. There are people that have organizations, corporations, or groups that have been identified as potential owners, future owners of the Houston Rockets. So we'll have to see what that looks like, and we'll have to see. So the Rockets, let me say this. I think we're getting close to bringing in Calvin Watkins. Number 8 on the Forbes NBA team valuations list, right? And there he is. All right, so this whole new technology platform that I've added to our broadcast is technology, so it takes a minute to figure it out, but I'm going to bring in Calvin Watkins so he can share what he knows about, Calvin Watkins knows all things NBA. I mean, not that he just knows NBA, because I know you have more range than that, but, since the last time we visited, so much has been happening. Why didn't you tell me that you left ESPN to go and purchase the Rockets?
I had a lot of money in my 401k, so I decided to make that happen.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. Let me ask you, when you heard earlier this week that Les Alexander was putting the Rockets on the market, were you as surprised as the rest of us seem to be? That he would be selling the team and selling it now?
I was shocked that he put the team for sale. But everyone has told me that there's nothing wrong with Les. It's just a grind of being an owner, and I don't know how much of a grind that is. Seaver, he yelled at the referee during the first round of the playoffs. I think he got a $100,000 fine. So
right,
there's so many things. I think he was frustrated because he really wanted the Rockets to get a championship. He's bonded with James Harden. He gave a contract extension to Daryl Morey. He hired Mike D'Antoni, despite the fact a lot of people did not believe Mike D'Antoni was going to be a good fit for the Rockets. So, yeah, maybe, it did wear on him a little bit. And yeah, maybe he just needs to sell. And remember, he brought this team for what, $854 million? No, I'm sorry. 85 million.
Right.
85 million. He bought it for $85 million, so now he's about to get about $1.4, $1.6 billion. So that's a pretty nice profit.
That's a very nice profit. And let me tell you one of the first things I thought, Calvin. When I heard that he was selling the team, I said, okay, now I really understand the James Harden extension, right? Like, I know we talked about it from a business standpoint. James Harden is the Rockets superstar. Of course, now they've added Chris Paul. but it was even more important because you and I the team on Tuesday morning. Right? He probably knew he was going to sell it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But locking up your
think
superstar for the value of the team was a great business decision. He didn't to be here. Carmelo Anthony is still not a Rocket. Do you think that deal gets done?
Yeah, I think so. I think Steve Mills and Scott Perry, I think it's Scott Perry, the new GM of the Knicks. They want to talk to Carmelo, but it appears that Melo's not willing to talk to them. Players just want Carmelo, C.J. McCollum, and Dame Lillard have reached out to Melo to say, look, forget the Rockets, you need to come out here. But Carmelo Anthony wants to play for the Rockets. He wants to play with his boy, Chris Paul. They had a lot of success with Team USA, with Mike D'Antoni, assistant coach on that team about 6 years ago now. So they want to revitalize some of those types of things. So I do believe Carmelo wants to be with the Rockets. Whether or not it's successful or not remains to be seen.
All right, Heavens Angel, working on. Welcome. We'll have to wait and see. I imagine it, like you, I tend to think that it will have to get done because he doesn't want to be in New York. And no. I don't think it matters who the general manager is. I think he's just ready to go. And so perhaps, when the dust settles from the new GM getting there and then just realizing, okay, he is not going to be happy here. Let's move on and for him now. So let's talk about what it would take to get him here in a trade, since it doesn't look like the Knicks are going to just cut him and, write him a check. You say two first-round draft picks to get Carmelo. Is that your thought? But what it would take to get him here as a Rocket?
Well, Zach Lowe, ESPN, said that's probably what the Knicks are asking for. The Rockets are trying to give them Ryan Anderson, not want Ryan Anderson under any circumstances because he's owed a lot of money. And the fact that he's Ryan Anderson, he's not very good defensively. He struggled at home against the Rockets. He's a great outside shooter, but what the Knicks are trying to do, they're trying to get younger, as you know, and athletic. So what they have to do is find a third, maybe even a fourth team to kind of facilitate a deal like this. It's going to be very hard to complete a deal like this, but you can do it. The key is you got to find someone who wants Ryan Anderson. Right now, that's not the Knicks. The Knicks, based on what they're saying, they want to get younger. So how do you get younger? You get draft picks, like what the Celtics did, what the Sixers did, what the Lakers are doing. The more draft picks you have, especially if you're in the lottery, the quicker you can get to that rebuilding process and get young talent, and you can get that rebuilding process done in about 2 years, and you can compete for a playoff spot, which is what the Sixers are going to do, I think, this year in the East. The Lakers are probably 2 years away with Brandon Ingram and your boy LeVar Ball and all those guys. So that's what the Knicks are trying to do, but they can't rebuild with Carmelo Anthony, that's for sure.
So, Carmelo Anthony is not the future of the Knicks. The Carmelo Anthony
is so sad.
Yeah, for a timing perspective, it's probably a great time for him to be a Rocket. It seems like, the issues before that he and Coach D'Antoni had have been resolved to the point where they're both willing to work with each other and probably even look forward to it because of what it could mean in terms of potential opportunity it could mean for this franchise. Let me ask you another question about something happening this summer. We have not seen the excitement around the summer, the NBA summer ball as we've seen this year. Is it just because of what's happening?
Right, totally, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it because of the balls, or is it because this class is just so deep in terms of NBA rookies?
I think Lonzo Ball was the key to Summer League. I was at Summer League last year, and there was a little bit of excitement. Now, the Lakers, they were in the quarterfinals, I think, last year, or semifinals, and there were a lot of Laker fans there. D'Angelo Russell hit this three-pointer at the buzzer to win one game, and the place was packed at UNLV. This year, the place was packed, sold out. Someone who was out there was telling me that they were scalping tickets to Summer League. They've never seen that before. But LA, as you know, is about 4 hours away from Vegas, maybe 4.5. So it's a nice little drive. So yeah, Lonzo Ball was the key. Fultz, the kid from Philly, he was out there. Fox was out there. So there's a lot of good young talent. This was a pretty good draft for the NBA. So, but definitely the Lakers being the big draw. Plus Magic was out there every night. So, you can't go wrong trying to see Magic. So, yeah, I think this was the first time in a long time that the Summer League in Vegas was this popular. No one gets that pumped up for Summer League in Orlando, I'll tell you that.
Well, the other thing, Calvin, I found surprising is when people initially were talking about Ball saying, he's a bust. I'm like, no one ever uses Summer League as the indication for how a team is going to be. I just think
he's like the MVP.
Such a bust. Yeah. He turned out to be the MVP, but his first game, they were like, really? But people are paying attention and pressure, whatever you want to call it. I think he's handled it pretty well so far.
I think so. Just because LeVar, his dad, is, marketing genius, doesn't mean that the son has to be a marketing genius, and doesn't mean he has to be as loud. But when you see the things that they're doing, like he got the Big Baller brand sneakers, so he's not wearing them. He's wearing everybody else's shoes. I think he even wore James Harden's shoes in one game. I think he wore some Kobe's too. So, and now the sneaker companies are like, okay, maybe we need to get to this Ball kid. So he is a smart kid. He's got his head on straight. Everyone has said he's a good kid. A lot of people are saying his game reminds them of Jason Kidd's, but that remains to be seen. Yeah. But the reality is, we did see some good things out of him. He's a good passer. I think he needs to work on his shot. I'm not talking about the technique of the shot, just to be more consistent, because teams are going to sag off him, and they're going to say, you better hit that jumper. So he's going to have to hit that jumper consistently. It was good to see the court vision that he displayed. Now, how would that translate to the 82-game regular season? We'll find out in a couple of months. But I think everything looks pretty good for him, but I'm not ready to give him Rookie of the Year just yet. The kid in Dallas might get that, Dennis Smith Jr.
Dennis Smith Jr. There's a lot of good young talent. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this rookie class plays out. And the balance of power, as we discussed before, continues to still be in the West some kind of way.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. This is the only team that didn't get better in the West. It wasn't their fault, really. It was Utah, and they lost Gordon Hayward. Minnesota got better because they got your boy Jimmy Butler. San Antonio, but I think the Spurs will be okay. The Rockets, we know about them. They're trying to get one more piece. Golden State re-upped their depth, what I thought was important. I think the West is still the best. The Eastern Conference is like an expansion conference with all those teams. Boston's probably going to challenge Cleveland for the top spot in the Eastern Conference again. So it's all about chasing Golden State. And I don't know too many teams who can beat Golden State right now.
Well, I think you're right. And in the last couple of press conferences, that's what Mike D'Antoni has said. I mean, everybody knows Golden State is the standard. And so we always talk about, have you closed the gap? Yeah, how much better have you gotten it? You close to what else do you ask? If you don't get, like for the Houston Rockets, if they can't advance to the Western Conference Championship, it doesn't matter what they do. Right? Just getting to the playoffs and getting to the second round is, I don't think, going to be enough. Now, the new owner may have some other idea, but they've got to get there, I think, to really show that they've moved the needle.
Adding Chris Paul helps. That's number one. Getting Carmelo Anthony
did I
is number two.
Lose you, Calvin? Yeah.
Can you hear me? I hear you. Kim.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
you said Carmelo Anthony will be the next thing, and then what?
Yeah, and then obviously we kind of forget they did give James Harden a contract extension. As you were saying earlier, you got a superstar, so that's what you need, and that's what the Rockets have always wanted. At least the GM has, and the fans in Houston need. as superstars for the basketball team. So they got one in James, two in your boy CP3, and then obviously Carmelo's going to come in a couple, hopefully soon for Rockets fans. I think they're about to go crazy until this deal gets completed. So the Rockets are definitely to me, they were the third best team in the NBA last year without Carmelo Anthony and Chris Paul. And they're probably still either the second or third best team in the West. How they make will get you over the top, meaning surpassing the Golden State Warriors. I'm not sure if it can. You got me? You lost me?
Well, I think you make a good point. Yeah, no, you're still here. I mean, surpassing the Golden State Warriors, and then I don't know if anybody is really, has done enough to do that because they're just so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to play the game. It also depends on who stays healthy for most of the season, who's healthy when you get to the playoffs, and all of that matters. But, you thought the Rockets were the third best team in the NBA?
Yeah,
really?
Based on record, yeah, they were the third best team in the West. Yeah, I thought so. I mean, Golden State was number one.
In the West. Okay, not in the NBA.
Well, when you look at the records, they had a better record than Boston. They had a better record than Cleveland. So they did have the third best record in the NBA. When you go look at the wins and losses, the winning percentage. In terms of when you look at pound for pound, the best talent, Golden State was probably one. I would say Cleveland was two. I would put the Rockets three. I think the Rockets had a lot of talent. They weren't. I think if they hadn't gotten hurt in that Spurs series, who knows where the Rockets would have been. If Harden hadn't gotten tired, if D'Antoni would have expanded the rotation just a little bit, I think the Rockets had a chance to beat the Spurs.
I think the Rockets, but now why I stand with James Harden. But here's what's going to be interesting forward, right?
Okay.
So Chris Paul is, I think Chris Paul is going to become clearly a superstar on the court in Houston, and I think he's going to be a superstar in the city. It's because of who he is. He's got this. He's a family guy. He's very committed to his community work. That's just who he is. And I think that Houston's going to love him. And I think that that's going to be a challenge for the James Harden that I've been covering. Now, maybe this James Harden grows up and it won't matter to him. But I think that Chris Paul is going to quickly become, without even trying to be, the name and the face that people in this city identify with, just because he's going to be so entrenched and connected, because that's who he's a smart guy. He's engaging. He is talented. And he and his family will be a part of the fabric of the Houston community. That's going to be something to watch.
Yeah, it was funny how Chris Paul said his son was crying because he said, look, we got to go to Houston. Because all he knows is the Clippers. All he knows is Blake and DeAndre Jordan and Doc Rivers and Austin Rivers and Jamal Crawford. That's all he knows is L.A. So he was very, very devastated. So, yeah, the good thing about Chris, that I think he will be pretty much entrenched in Houston. I think he's more of when I think of James Harden in the community, I don't think of him in the community as popular in the community. I don't think he's as marketed in the community the way Dwight Howard is, or the way Dwight Howard was. And I think when you bring Chris Paul in here, a guy who is involved socially, I think that will help James Harden mature a little bit and say, you know what, there's more to life than basketball. Even though I've had nice talks with James about some social activism things, but publicly, I think it might broaden his horizons a little bit in having Chris Paul here.
Well, social activism and James Harden, I can't even imagine those in the same breath, but him far better than I do. I just hope that, perhaps Chris Paul rubs off on him in a positive way. And I'm not trying to put wings on Chris Paul, acting like he's, some kind of model of perfection, but we've just seen throughout his career who he is and how he operates. I think it's definitely different from how James Harden carries himself and what James Harden does and what he's committed to do. And James probably more so than Dwight Howard, because Dwight, was very sensitive, and there were just so many other challenges there. But I think that Chris Paul is going to fare well here, and if he stays healthy and he can do on the court what we know he can do, it'll be his team pretty soon. At the very least, they'll be co-sharing it, and that's going to be a challenge for James's ego. I'm just saying.
No, I think it will always be James Harden's team. I think Chris Paul understands that. The fact that Chris Paul is only here for 1 year, and then the Rockets have to decide if they want to give him $207 million over 5 years. I think this will always be James Harden's team. And Chris Paul understands that. But if you want to get to where you're trying to go, Chris Paul hasn't led anybody to a championship neither. So that's before we put Chris Paul in the Hall of Fame, he hasn't won anything himself. So
right.
The only difference between him and James Harden is that James Harden's been in the NBA Finals with the Thunder and to the conference finals with Dwight Howard. Chris Paul hasn't even done that. Chris Paul has even gotten his team out of the second round of the playoffs. So, but Chris Paul is still one of the top 5 point guards in the game. So that's why this is such a risky move, because you put all these guys together to win the NBA.
Right. You make a really good point. I mean, I know it's James Harden's team, but I think in terms of what people in this city will see, and I think Chris Paul's bought into that, I think he's fine with it. It's like Kevin Durant going out to Golden State and it not having to be his team, or a different scenario. So I'm sure from where he stands and the organization stands as James Harden's team, I'm just saying I think the city of Houston is going to really embrace Chris Paul and who he is. And because he will be so much a part of what happens off the court, that's really important to him. He's made that commitment, his entire family. I think that's going to matter. And I just think that James's ego, basketball aside, he's going to have to figure out how to manage it. It's a little bit of immaturity on his part.
I thought he did a good job last year in incorporating those guys, like Ryan Anderson and all those characters. So I think this year he knows that he's got to give the ball up to CP3, without a doubt. Right.
Well, he's got to give the ball up to him, and hopefully they can play together well. And I think you're right. The beauty for Chris Paul is he has a year to see if this is going to work. Can I have the kind of success I want with this organization? And he's got a year to figure it out. And I don't think there's any chance he does anything prior to late next year. I mean, into the season about any kind of extension. I think he wants to see.
Oh, no, I don't blame him. Because say you don't get Carmelo Anthony. If you don't get Carmelo Anthony, then if I'm Chris Paul, I'm out.
Right.
But it's interesting. But Chris Mannix said something interesting. He's with SI. No, he's with The Vertical. Sorry, he's with The Vertical. Okay. And he used to be with SI. He was saying, would say you get Carmelo here, right, which we believe is going to happen, and you have CP3 here. He was speculating that maybe LeBron James, who will opt out of his contract next year with the Cavaliers, maybe LeBron James comes to Houston. Now, can you imagine James Harden, LeBron James, Chris Paul, with his 200? Now, I think some guys have to take some less money, right? And Carmelo Anthony on the same team.
Yeah, I've heard
that. Can you
that.
imagine that or no?
I can imagine it. Absolutely. I've heard that too. And we know how LeBron feels about Chris Paul. We know that they've wanted to play together. We know the Carmelo piece. They've talked about that. And so if the other two guys are here and they can help James Harden, be who he needs to be ultimately, because we know he's talented. There's no question about James Harden's talent. And maybe the other things that he doesn't have, he gets some of that with the other guys coming in. That would be something to see.
Maybe, but I think LeBron's going to LA.
Do you?
I think he's got a better chance to win in LA, and he's got a house out there. He's got so many other opportunities, marketing wise, movies, TV. He's producing shows. I think it's just easier for him to be in LA with Magic. Everyone says he will never go to the Clippers, which is fine, but LeBron going to LA with the Lakers, I think it's just perfect.
Well, and here's the thing. I think you said something that's really key. If LeBron leaves the Cavaliers, he's only going to leave for a chance for a team that he thinks has a really legitimate shot at winning the championship. It's got about, at this point, winning championships. And so if he thinks the Lakers have a better shot at winning the championship than the Rockets, I agree with you. Do you think the Lakers in 2018 are better poised to win a championship?
Yeah. Without LeBron James, no, but with LeBron, because they have young talent. I mean, you have to see how Lonzo Ball plays, Brandon Ingram plays.
Yeah.
They got another first round pick. They're gonna have to get another veteran player, and that could be Paul George, who is going to play 1 year in OKC. There's even talk about Paul George is going to convince your boy Russell Westbrook to leave OKC and go to LA. The Thunder have an extension on the table for Westbrook, and he hasn't said, okay, I'll sign it, because he can do the same thing Harden has done, and he hasn't done it yet. So there's a lot of speculation there about where a lot of these guys are going to go. But I will say LeBron to Houston, I can't see it, but I understand if it does happen just because he is close to CP3. But to make all that happen, somebody's going to have to take some less money, and I think that might have to be Chris Paul.
Well, out of the group, you're probably right. But what cool things to be actually talking about in the summer, right? Talking about Chris Paul in Houston and maybe Carmelo and could LeBron be a Houston Rocket? I mean, it's a conversation we wouldn't even tossed around 2 years ago. We wouldn't
even thought about it. Nope.
Would have thought about it. So I think it'll be interesting. This NBA offseason has been a little more exciting than it usually is, beyond just that first day or two of free agency. And it's not over yet. And especially for Houston Rockets fans, because of the pending sale or the sale of the Houston Rockets. And I can't imagine that this team will be on the market very long.
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of candidates out there, but I am interested in seeing if Yao Ming and Hakeem Olajuwon team up, try to buy the team. We already saw the Kimmy Mutombo say he's going to put a group together. So there'll be a lot of potential buyers for this team.
That would be interesting. I hadn't thought about Yao Ming and Hakeem together. So I, see, that's why I have you on, because you just got all the great kind of thoughts in it. Really? All right, Calvin, I appreciate it. You are awesome as always, and especially on such short notice. So thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk today.
No problem. This is great.
Yeah, it's a new platform. So I'm moving the show. I'm going to do these shows about at least 3 times a week, and we're just making them shorter. So I'll be calling you.
All right, cool.
All right. I'll see you next
time. Take it easy.
All right. That was Calvin Watkins, who was a part of us today. And so here's the deal. For those of you who are watching Chalk Talk, we moved the show to my Kim Y. Davis page because it's the business page. It allows me to boost it and promote it and encourage people even after the show ends. And also, as I turn the show into a podcast once it airs, I promote the interviews that I don't play here that you can then go listen to. It just gives me more chances to grow the business and the brand. So I know I'm going to have to work with the audience who's used to catching me on the other page. So I to share the broadcast with your friends and your community. Also, make sure that you click the little notification page and say that you want to get notifications when I go live. That way, when I'm going live from this page, you'll be notified. So Charlotte and Heaven's Angel, thank you for hanging in there. Charlotte, be safe. And Heaven's Angel, as always, I appreciate you. And any of you, for anybody else who's joining the show live today. And also for those of you who will join the show, who will watch the broadcast of the show later. You may watch the recording of it. So for now, Angel and I, hey, Angel did make it to daycare today. I had a board meeting, and so we just couldn't get her there. So thank you so much for being a part of today's show. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you soon on Chalk Talk. Pay attention for notifications about the podcast with the interview. And hey, Rainice, look, Rainice says hi, Angel. And Charlotte says hi, Angel. I think they're more excited about you than me. So, so 3 of these clips a week. It's going to be a shorter show. It's going to be half an hour instead of an hour. And then I'm going to, and I may even make it 20 minutes, but I'm also going to always have an interview that you can go and download as a podcast. So that's the new format. Thank you so much for hanging in and coming on late today because I had to figure out I decided, let me just figure it out as I'm doing it, bringing people in live on Facebook. So have a great weekend, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. And thanks so much for watching Chalk Talk. See you soon.